I'd like to call the Senate back to order. Ante rooms and hallways, go ahead and come back into the chamber and we'll proceed with the rest of the calendar today. Chair would like to recognize the senator from the 52nd for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we suspend Senate Rule 2-8.3B, which requires the printing and distribution of conference committee reports on the legislative day prior to consideration, so that we may consider the conference committee report on House Bill 276.
Will the Secretary read the caption to House Bill 276?
The committees of conference on House Bill 276 recommend that both the Senate and the House of Representatives recede from their positions and that the attached committees of conference substitute to HB 276 be adopted, respectively submitted by Senator Huffstetler of the 52nd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to sales and use taxes so as to revise the definition of dealer, to acquire the collection or remittance of sales tax by certain persons that facilitate certain retail sales, to define marketplace facilitator and marketplace seller, to prohibit certain class action suits, to provide for limitations and exceptions, and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
The senator from the 52nd has asked for unanimous consent that the Senate suspend Rule 2-8.3, which requires the printing and distribution of the conference committee reports on the legislative day prior to consideration, so that we may consider the conference committee report on House Bill 276. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and the Senate has suspended its rules. Chair would like to recognize the senator from the 52nd for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate adopt the conference committee report on House Bill 276.
The legislation has been read. Would the senator like to speak to the motion? Chair recognizes the senator from the 52nd to speak to his motion.
Thank you, Mr. President, and the Senate for waiving the rules today. I don't believe I've ever asked for that before. There's several reasons why I would like to do this. One is that the April 1st implementation date will require businesses to get their IT in order. Now, they're doing it in 37 states, but some of the smaller players could have a little difficulty, and with respect to them, if we do this versus 11 days from now in our next session, we won't have given them as much time to do this. And so this bill we passed out last year with one exception. We did have a carve out in there for Uber and Lyft. Both Uber and Lyft do not oppose this bill anymore. They are asking for some help in a different bill that will be coming to our committees, and they now have no objection to this being done. This marketplace seller bill, I gave you, as you know, the bill's been on your desk since early this morning. You also have the fiscal note there, and you have a one sheet sort of explaining it. But these marketplace sellers are from all over the country and the world that sell to our Georgia consumers. They currently owe taxes on these sales, but Georgia has not had an efficient manner to collect these taxes. So a marketplace facilitator structure is the best method to collect these taxes. The facilitators such as Amazon, Google, Airbnb, HomeDepot.com, eBay, many others will offer a tax collection service to the third-party marketplace sellers who use their framework to sell to Georgia consumers. As I mentioned, 37 states have put this in place. And all those have agreed to do this. All the companies I mentioned support it. It is a number one priority of the Department of Revenue for this year, as well as ACCG and GMA. And the bill in itself, I do want to point you to line 12 that says that this is to be collected on taxes that are currently owed under this chapter. There are no new taxes on anybody under this bill. It is the taxes that are currently subject to collection. This simply makes an efficient and modern system to collect these taxes that are currently due to the state of Georgia. You know, we've had a fiscal note in there. We've had others that say it's several times that. I do think the note is low. We look at one company that, if you look at their $1.2 billion in sales, and this isn't Amazon, but it is a good-sized company that says they would, in online sales in Georgia, they would be paying $84 million. They're paying less than $10 million. So they're not doing anything wrong. They're following the law, but they also support bringing this in to bring consistency to everybody. And I think the most important part of this is that it levels the playing field with our Georgia businesses, who, the brick and mortar operations, who are paying income taxes, they're paying property taxes, they're paying sales taxes, and we don't want someone from outside of Georgia being able to use them as a showroom for their product, who then turn, because they aren't paying their taxes, get to sell at a discount and hurts our Georgia businesses. With that, that's a brief summary. As I mentioned, we did pass this out with that one change, and I'll yield for questions.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 6th for a question.
Thank you. Will the senator yield?
I'll yield.
I really just need a clarification. So I know that there's been talk about this reaching kind of Airbnbs and Uber, Lyft, all of that, which are more kind of service-related providers. In terms of the definition of retail sales, and I'm just wanting to make sure that I get it, is retail sales defined elsewhere to include these services?
Well, the issue has been a controversy, as an example, between Uber and the Department of Revenue, who've had ongoing negotiations for 2 or 3 years. This bill doesn't step into that negotiation between these two. It simply says we're setting up the framework, and they are requesting some clarification language in another bill that will be coming from the House, to my understanding. It doesn't, you know, it's not going to be like your barber or Netflix or those kind of things. It's no new taxes whatsoever. Just simply in that chapter, what the Department of Revenue says is currently owed in taxes.
So with respect to that, then we're not touching services. This is retail sales like Amazon, Prime, when they deliver something, that's what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking
hard
about.
sales. We're not talking about services and or, like I said, Airbnbs or anything like that.
Airbnbs are part of this
Okay.
because, and they support the bill. They, just as a hotel pays a sales tax, they've got a marketplace that meets the definition of dollar sales set up by the Supreme Court decision, Wayfair versus South Dakota, that would meet that. And so they would be subject to that and would be on an equal basis with the hotels. And they currently are now. It's just, there's just no efficient way to collect it.
Okay.
You have no more questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I urge the Senate to pass this bill, and I appreciate your indulgence on this issue so that we can get the marketplace facilitators ample notice to begin the process in Georgia, as is done in 37 other states.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure or the motion? The chair hears none. The chair recognizes a senator from the 52nd to close debate.
I would simply move that we do close debate on this issue.
All right. Move to close debate. The question is now on the adoption of the Conference Committee report on House Bill 276. All those in favor of adopting the Conference Committee report will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 40, the nays are 9. The motion has prevailed, and the Senate has adopted the Conference Committee report on House Bill 276. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader.
Into H.R. 879 until 10 a.m. on Monday, January 27th, 2020.
Chair recognizes the Secretary for announcements.
House Bill 276 Conference Committee meeting is canceled. Government oversight is canceled. Higher educational meet and 450 cap at 1 p.m. Finance is canceled. Regulated industries and utilities is canceled. Science technology is canceled. Judiciary is canceled. Transportation is canceled. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Any senators have an announcement to make? Chair sees none. The Majority Leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned. I move that the Senate stand adjourned pursuant to House Resolution 879 until 10 a.m. on Monday, January 27th, 2020. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes clearly have it, and the Senate stands adjourned.